I think probably after watching Poltergeist for the millionth time, if you remember, that movie begins with the golden retriever wandering around through the house, clearly keyed into that there's a supernatural presence before any of the people. Combine that with, I think, the relatable, worry that every dog owner has had of why is my dog barking in the middle of the night or why is he staring at nothing? That was kind of the kernel that we used to, spin the entire narrative. And it just took a while to figure out what that script and story actually works like. But that was the starting point. The haunted house, we wanted to, the way the film begins, it would feel like we're in a trope we maybe have even seen before, that this is a kind of classic setup to a haunted house ghost story where it's a creepy old house. It's been empty for a long time. And isn't that weird? The dog is staring at nothing and won't go into the basement. From there, it, takes a very dog specific, twist and turn where, it isn't necessarily as it initially appears to be.
Working with Indy, I mean, it was a lot of fun just because he's our dog. And so it was great to essentially kind of get to play with him every day. And I think he enjoyed that too, just because he's a super smart dog and loves to have a job and I think loves to be entertained and stimulated. But making the movie definitely required a ton of patience. Time was truly our greatest resource in making the movie. So just every day was all about, working around whatever he was capable of doing, problem solving, trying to figure out what it was that he could do or adapting to what he couldn't do. But no, it was a ton of fun and obviously worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it was a fun little family project. It was just the three of us, for the majority of those 400 days spread across 3 years, figuring out how to make a movie around Indy. Yeah, so we embraced, Indy as the only point of view character and all its benefits and limitations. And there really are both practical and creative considerations there. Creatively, it's a more interesting way to kind of tell a story in a genre that, is one of the oldest, horror is one of the oldest genres there is. So it's definitely a fresh take. It allows you, because we're just seeing thing from the dog's point of view, just a few inches off the ground, we're seeing scenes and kind of familiar, the floorboard creaking, investigating a strange sound from a wholly new perspective. And practically, there's also a lot of benefits to that. It allowed us to make the movie with the limited resources we had with just the two of us, because naturally, if you're just a few inches off the ground, human bodies are going to be cropped oddly and framed, so heads and faces will be mostly off screen, which meant that Kari and I could be the ones on camera standing in for the human talent and acting as them. Human actors, human, of course, we're human actors came in to replace the voices and really create the performance almost the same way that James Earl Jones creates Darth Vader's performance in a Star Wars movie. But because we're the ones with Indy on set during filming, you get both these great moments where we can train him and coach him during the cameras, while they're rolling.
Indy, please. Good boy! Yes!
But then also there's moments of genuine affection that we can get because Indy's our actual dog. The way Indy, when I climb out of bed in the morning, he weaves in between my legs and I pat his side, and he just looks like he's the happiest thing in the world. We were able to film that, and it looks like Todd and Indy love one another because that's me and Indy. No. Um, when we started developing the idea, I thought we'd be working with a trained actor dog. And the reason we started working with Indy was he was just over a year old, and I was still trying to figure out how to crack the story in the screenplay. And we started making these little tests, these proof of concept short films where we would just try and experiment. How do you actually do just standard horror filmmaking, shot, reverse shot? following a character into a new space. They freeze because they hear a sound. Then we cut to their point of view and then back to the shot of them. Simple stuff to do with a human, but difficult with an a dog who does not know he's in a movie. Um, those shorts we were making, which started out as experiments and then grew into demos of the final, scares and sequences that we see that you can now see in the finished film. Uh, we ended up making one that was won a short film contest. Indy was nominated for Best Actor, and by that point, we'd really learned this novel way to work with him, and people were responding to him so strongly it kind of forced our hand.
And the best actor thing was among people. It wasn't a best actor specific to dogs. So that really told us a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was definitely a unique challenge finding actors who, of course, are great actors, but then also it sounds correct that their voices come out of our bodies. Um, I'm on camera the most. So Shane Jensen, who plays Todd, it had to sound plausible that his voice comes out of my body, but then also in the performance, there's this extra challenge of that the performance needs to be good, but then also he needs to match the physicality of what I'm doing on set or what we're doing, because Kari would occasionally play Todd too. And if in the scene, when I'm acting with Indy or standing in with Indy, I sit up and move in a specific way, which is probably for the benefit of his performance. What I'm actually saying on set is like, whoa, whoa, stay boy, good dog. Shane then has to put the lines so it looks like they match the physicality of how I sit up, and he would need to actually do that while making the performance good. So it was really kind of an enormous challenge for Shane and Ariel Friedman, who plays Vera, to make that all sing, which is this very unique, production challenge.
Our motto as we were making as we were that we found as we were making the movie is hard things are easy and easy things are hard. And we definitely have examples for both of those situations if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's exactly as Kari says, things that seem like they should be difficult because there's big camera moves and Indy needs to go from point A to point B to maybe even point C. It seems like that should be really difficult, but oftentimes very practical solutions just worked and worked repeatably because for an example, we follow Indy, from the house into a garage. He checks out a dead end, then goes to another point. We just made a little breadcrumb trail of actual food that he could follow, which was very easy to get him to do.
And I was hiding in a room.
Yeah, I mean, and Kari would hide in a room to then
Yeah.
get him to look a certain way. I'd hide in a third place, and he would just come to our voices and follow the breadcrumb trail. And
And again, he loves to have a job. He loves kind of like puzzle solving and those kind of like basic obedience things where he gets to move around. Like those are fun for him. And I think we had probably 6 or 7 takes and all of them were great.
yeah. On the other hand, asking him to sit still and just control his gaze in a tight close-up, something which, if you're working with an actor, is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world, but certainly not the hardest, just to say, look a little to your left, look up, catch the light, move forward, adjust focus on the camera, and we're great, you can roll. With Indy, he has no concept of that. So getting those tight, kind of especially emotional close-ups between Todd and Indy were always a challenge just to get the positioning just so. It's not an exaggeration that those big, moving shots were sometimes one day, not one and done, but we, film in our short 3-hour window we had with Indy and get 6 usable takes. But for close-ups, we would shoot on a Monday, not get it right, shoot on a Tuesday, not get it right, and then maybe on Thursday we would get one take out of 14 that was actually usable. So it took a lot of effort, time, and patience, lots of treats, and different stimuli to get the performance you see from Indy, in the end result.
Yeah, and you've always said, it's a horror movie, but for the dog, it's something else, right?
Yeah, Alex and I, my co-writer, would say, this is a horror movie, But for Indy, from his perspective, this is a love story. He has, it's very clear from the, almost the moment we begin, this dog is bonded to this guy and he would do anything to protect him. And that's just really easy to understand.
I guess I'm next. I should never have come here.
Look at it's freaking bats. I love Halloween.